This is Marty. We are back with a new video. We'll be talking about Project Cars 2, about a base setup for the AMG GT3 car that I'm running for the AOR Championship, and I found a pretty nice base setup that I want to share with you guys. Well, first of all, we're talking about tires. You can either choose between hard and soft tires. In my experience, the front tires need a slightly higher pressure than the rear tires. So with soft tires, you'll be looking at somewhere between 135 and 140 in front. And with hard tires, we're looking at somewhere between 130 and 137 in the front. With the rear tires, we'll be talking about, with the harder tires, somewhere as low as possible. So basically most of the time, roughly 130. Softer tires, somewhere between 133, 135, depending on track and temperature and stuff. Brake pressure, I always keep it at 100%. For me, that's the most benefit, because I need feeling when I'm braking, so I'll keep it at 100%. Brake balance, somewhere between 58 and 62. Most of the time I keep it at 60. I prefer 60. Front deck opening, somewhere between 30 and 50, depending on track and temperature. Rear, always keep it a bit more closed. The downforce, somewhere between 1 and 3. Most of the time I keep it at 3, and the rear somewhere between 12 and 16. This is a powerful car, so you can use some downforce, somewhere between 3 and 12 and 16. So the camera angle, I'll keep it at 3.8 in the front, 3.3 at the back. Ride height 77. Spring rate, somewhere between 320 and 360 in the front. Camber angle on the back 3.3, ride height 91, and spring rate in the back somewhere between 100 and 160. Basically, you want a softer rear. That's important for this car. Steering ratio, keep it at 10.5. Toe and angle, keep it at 0.0. Enter roll bar 160 or 120, somewhere between 120 and 160. Also a stiffer front. The rear somewhere between 15 and 30, and toe and angle 0.3 should be fine for this car. Dampers and stuff, I don't change a lot regarding the dampers. Obviously the bump stop, I keep it at front at 4, and the rear we keep it at 0. But the other numbers are all the basic numbers for your stable or your loose setup. I found out loose setup is definitely faster, so you might want to give that a try and make the adjustments of the loose setup. But this is actually the stable setup that I changed, and I prefer a stable car. Might be a bit slower, but I think it's worth it. So these are just the basic numbers that you can try to change yourself. So bump stop 0, the back 4 in the front. Engine and gearing, and fuel load, depending on what you're using, qualify or racing. So depending on distance of the race, you can add the fuel that you need. So keep it at 100, 120, whatever you prefer. Air restrictor, we want that a maximum, so in this car is 34.6. Radiator opener, we keep it between 15 and 30%, depending on temperature and overheating of the engine. Engine braking is quite important, somewhere between 2 and 9. Traction control, I keep it at 15%. But in qualify you can go up to 24%. Give you that bit more traction for that hot lap. ABS strength, we keep it at 70%. But in different conditions you can go up to 80, depending on what you prefer. So somewhere between 70 and 80, but I prefer 70 while racing. Fuel map, we keep it at 1.0. That's fine. You don't want to change anything about that. Differential, this is very important as well. First of all, preload, we keep it between 80 and 120, depending on track and what you prefer, but somewhere between 80 and 120 is fine. Power ramp, we keep it between 65 and 70, and coast ramp somewhere between 25 and 35, depending on what you prefer. With 30 you got a bit more steering. So well, yeah guys, it was basically my setup for the AMG GT3. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you all for watching, and feel free to leave some comments. Catch you up next time. Bye.